things are they're so cute. Look at them and their beady little eyes and antenna. Just want to hug them and squeeze them.
Are we looking at the same picture?
Yeah. Yeah, we are. Welcome, everyone, to Monster Chronicles, where we go through the monster manual chronologically and rate them on the tier list.
Yeah, today we're talking about the Ankheg, which is apparently Kai's favorite monster.
Yeah.
As we've all seen, he loves this thing so much. He thinks it's so cute. He instead of having a puppy or a cat, he'd rather have an Ankheg as a pet because he thinks it's just the cutest thing he's ever seen.
We are back in the realm of low-level monsters and encounters. This is not a very well-known monster, and it probably never will be because it just seems like as common and as commonplace as like a bug that you find outside your house. Like you don't know all the names of the bugs that are in your garden. This seems like the D&D equivalent of that, except for, because it's D&D, of course, it is like a large monstrosity that can eat your face.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, it's like one of those bugs in your yard if it was the size of a horse.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at it and I'm reading through it and I'm a little surprised it's only a challenge 2 rating. I would have made it like a 3 or a 4. But of course, we're looking at the stats. And yeah, the stats aren't very high for this thing. But I'm just looking at I'm looking at the monster. I'm looking at the description of the monster. And it gave me the impression that it was stronger than it really is. The picture and the description makes it again, I haven't encountered one of these monsters, and this is supposed to be low level. Just reading the description and the picture gave me the impression that it would have been stronger.
What is the thing that stuck out to you that made you think this thing is at least a CR3?
Well, it spits acid.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
That's something.
Mm-hmm.
And even just looking in the description, it's a 3d6 acid damage. I mean, if this thing rolls high on acid damage, bam, level 2 party member is down to 0 from max HP.
Yeah. I mean, level 2 party member, let's just assume that it's like, a wizard, like the lowest level that you can get. The average hit points is like something like around 14. Fairly unlikely, but it can happen.
It totally can happen.
Yeah.
And it's not like at level 2 you're gonna have many resistances against acid.
Yeah, no.
Even at level 10. Even at level 10, you're probably not going to have like an acid resistance. It's just not one of those things that you think about as a party member.
Yeah, no, resistances are fairly rare, even in later levels. There are some class features that give you resistances, but for the most part, you can't really rely on them for balance issues. But
right.
Yeah, for a creature like this, when I look at this and I think about where I want to place them in the world, I think exactly what I said at the beginning is that I want these things to be a nuisance in a fantasy world, like the bugs, maybe like what's a bug that really is annoying for crops to deal with, like aphids or
coyotes?
Yeah, coyotes, the most well-known bug. Exactly. I want to use these things like a pest because they're CR2, and when you are putting these things in an adventure and your party is level 2, these are the kind of adventures that they're going to be going on. Like, old Farmer Joe has been having an Ankheg problems for the past few weeks now. Go over there and clear out the bug infestation, and if you're good, you'll get 5 copper pieces. And it's like, yep. This is the kind of thing that I would want to use this for. Just treat these things like a bug, and then the players show like, okay, well, I'll deal with this bug infestation, and then these things pop out of the ground like daisies, and just spew acid on them, and they have a bad time. Yeah, they're like cockroaches. Like the cockroach crab spiders.
Cockroaches the size of a horse.
Yeah, that can spew acid.
That's another thing that's kind of throwing me off too. I think it would be a little bit stronger. It's large. It's a large monstrosity. And I'm just trying to think of that in real life. If I saw a horse-sized cockroach, I would be freaking terrified. Okay? Just imagine that. And a cockroach probably won't be able to do much to you. But then you look at this sort of thing. It can spit acid. It has like these spikes and mandibles and stuff like that. And they pop out of the ground.
Yeah, these things stay underground and get their little antennas above the dirt. And then as soon as something walks by it, they pop out and consume you and spew you in acid. And the acid isn't actually for digestion. It's to make you easier to swallow. Which is little fun facts, small details like that I really appreciate in the monster manual, because it's like, okay. It's not like a stomach acid. Like, this thing is just to help break down big things so it can fit down this thing's very narrow throat. So these things are described as nuisance creatures for farmers and ranchers. That is how they're described. That is how they fit in the world. And they have an intelligence to match it. They have the intelligence of a cockroach. The lowest intelligence you can have while having a functioning brain.
While being alive.
Yeah, I think... I mean, the animated objects also have, with the exception of the armor, also have intelligence of 1. So these things are as smart as sentient objects. That should give you an idea of the intelligence that they have. They are very much so like, there is a thing here, I want to eat it, lay my eggs, and then eat again. It is a dumb bug that is just ruining your local farmer's day.
Even the animated armor technically has an intelligence of 1, but that's whatever. Yeah, and...
Oh, I was looking at wisdom. You're right. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So I've never had to deal with an Ankheg, and I've honestly haven't done that many level 1 campaigns. Usually when I begin a campaign, it's level 3.
Yep.
So it's, we're already past like the Ankheg. But looking at this monster, yeah, it would be a very, very easy reason to get the party out of town, to help the farmer in the countryside.
Exactly.
There's an Ankheg problem.
Yeah, a wonderful call to adventure, like giant rats or like a local spooky ghost. This just has a built-in plot hook for a starter party built in, so I think it's pretty nice for that. Like, you're trying to get the hobbits out of the Shire. Oh, the farmers would have an Ankheg problem. It's like totally that tutorial quest monster.
Right.
And
I think, it's a simple monster, but I think that's okay.
Yeah.
It's a simple monster, it has a simple purpose, and it's useful. It's useful to have monsters like these.
Yeah, and for an early level, this thing's challenge is that it goes underground. So you need to think about that whenever you're fighting it, because at level 2, this thing pops up, attacks, and then burrows back underground. You're gonna kind of need to think outside the box a little bit here. So I can appreciate that. It can't burrow very far, but it has Tremor Sense. It knows where you are above ground, and it can lead to a more unique encounter than, say, like a giant rat or a giant bug. Because
another goblin or something.
Yeah, exactly. Because it can go underground and you need to actually tactically think about that. It's like, oh, maybe we go on a tree like Tremors style and we wait for it to come back up and then attack it because this thing is dumb. It's going to come back up and try to get you. Like, you can totally outsmart it. And
or even like throw like a rock in an opposite end and then wait for it to pop up and then you attack it.
Exactly. Because this thing is, because I think, in terms of design, this thing's low intelligent, I think makes it really fun to interact with as a early level party because the players can so easily outsmart it and it awards ingenuity and it can't just be hit over and over again because it attacks and burrows back underground. I mean, I like it a lot. There are a lot of really early, like, throwaway monsters that are CR1 and below. This one, in terms of, like you said, a really early adventure, I think this encounter could be very interesting even though it's really simple.
Yeah, I agree. And again, you know what? It doesn't have to be complicated to be good, If it can fulfill its purpose and it can create a fun time for the players, I don't see anything wrong with it necessarily. Except just my impression is that I'm like, oh, it's only challenge 2. I thought it'd be a challenge 3 or 4, but that's just me.
Which could be a problem, especially early levels when you totally have the fear of the gods in you because you're so squishy.
Yeah, you just don't want to die.
Exactly. Level 1 through 3, especially level 1 and 2, you're just like, all right, everyone, the mission is don't die. Because
just your mission is to make it to level 3.
Exactly. A 10-foot fall can kill a wizard.
And again, one good acid attack can drop a player. So.
And this acid attack can go across multiple people. So if you are unfortunately just in a straight line, and this thing uses its acid attack, and you get dealt the whole party gets dealt 3d6 damage.
TPK.
Yeah, TPK.
Early TPK.
Good luck. So, my advice for DMs to run, if they were running this creature as I think the best way to run it, which would be as in like a really early level encounter, you'd probably want to impart some advice from an NPC, letting them know like, oh yes, and it spews an acid thing in a straight line, because if they just so happen to be in a straight line and this happens to them, they're screwed. Like 3d6 damage to all 4 of them, the fight's practically over. You would need to, one of them is probably going to go down from that. Be careful. Be really careful, and let them in on a little bit of this thing's tactics, because it could be one of those things where, a lot of players just assume that they need to run at a thing and hit it. And then they'll just
especially level 1 and 2.
Yeah.
It's very just back and forth. Like, I attack, it attacks. I attack, it attacks.
Yeah,
right?
And encounters that require more finesse than that, especially in Dungeons and Dragons, especially in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, it's expected, it's the norm for it to basically just be a hit point battle. You need to hit it, and then it hits you. Nola, I know that you recently dealt a little bit of that, and I say recently as in like a long time ago, with the encounter in Omiri in the sewers with the tendrily thing, where you tried to not hit them back and forth, and because of that you almost died. So it's one of those things where as a DM, you should let your players know beforehand what kind of encounter that's going to be, so that they know how to react, because it's unfair to punish them for acting the way that like 90% of the encounters are going to go. So if you're going to have an exception to the rule, for instance, this thing burrows and spews acid in the line, maybe have them do a little bit of investigation, or have the farmer that they got the job from describe the scenery and say like, beware straight lines or formation, or this thing will burrow underground, or especially this thing is dumb as rocks. And that can make the encounter a lot more interactive and a lot more cool, because the player might use their action to throw a rock instead of casting a spell, which may prove to be way more useful than casting a spell, which is really, really cool and interactive with the space around it. Like, you could do some really cool map shenanigans, high ground locations, trees, or like boulders that they can't burrow up from, so like you can hop from boulder to boulder and you're safe. Like, there's some cool possibilities here. You just need to let them know that, because otherwise they're gonna assume that you just need to smack it, and then this thing or at
least leave hints of that that the players can find. Like maybe around the area, like once you get closer to where the Ankheg lives, you can see maybe parts of trees have like acid spots, or even maybe some of the animals in the area, they might have like some spots or patches of fur that are missing, or signs of like acid, signs of a bunch of burrows in the ground. Like maybe you see a bunch of like groundhog looking holes in the ground every once in a while, and so you can give the players hints that this is what the Ankheg can do. Let's not all get into a Congo line.
Exactly. Everyone just grasping each other's hips, and then something comes up and eats them all.
Right.
Because they're stomping on the ground, and this thing would sense it.
Yeah.
As far as things go, it's a good early CR monster. As soon as you reach like level 5, all of that goes out the window, because you could just power through the damage. Like, you just, like, with this thing's plus,
you can just fireball at people.
Plus 5 to hit. You don't need to worry about tactics anymore. If this thing comes up from the ground, you just wait for it to attack you, and then you attack it, and you don't need to worry about the damage. But early levels, you do need to worry. So I would say that for an early, like, for the CR that it's for, so say for a second level party, I think it's great. For everything after that, there's probably better things that you can do, just because of how weak this thing is.
So, where are you thinking on the tier list?
I like it.
And personally, yeah. Where, though?
Yes, where in the We Like You tier
Yeah.
does our Ankheg friend go? I definitely think that it shouldn't go after the armor, just because of how iconic that is.
I agree.
So
I personally was thinking above Planetar.
Mm-hmm. I think that makes sense. Look, there's no conflict in this video, Nola. We need to argue more.
I'm sorry. Sometimes we just agree, okay? Is that so horrible? Is that so bad?
I hate you. Huh? How do you like that?
Why?
Oh, that's even worse. Okay. Ankheg will go after the Planetar then.
Anyway, oh yeah, so it goes after the
Yeah. Anyway, Ankheg, we like you. Slightly better than the Planetar. Boom. Nice little bug creature for any DMs looking for a interactive low-level encounter. Ankheg is for you. So, simple monster, not too much to talk about, but cute little bug thing.
Nothing to complain about either.
Yeah, nothing to complain about. Just right down the middle, and leaves room to a pretty nice combat encounter. For everything else, farmers might have a problem with this, but not much to say. It's hard to describe. Probably one of the first, it's as good as you think it's gonna be kind of monster.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe even slightly above that with the burrowing thing, but for the most part, yeah. And there's gonna be a lot of these. There's a lot of monsters where you're like, yep, cool.
Yep, okay.
Thank you, next.
Thank you, next.
Yep. And the Ankheg is the first. And the monster that is next on our little tier list and is next in the monster manual is a little bit above that. But stay tuned to see what that's all about. So, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Like, comment, subscribe, watch our stream, all that good stuff. We appreciate you. Bye-bye.